The sun tucked itself behind the hills, leaving the village in a blanket of purple and blue. Everything was quiet except for the tiny crickets singing in the grass. Softly, so softly, the night settled over the small houses. Arav stood by his bedroom window, his dark wavy hair catching the last bit of light. He wore his favorite blue pajamas, which felt like a gentle cloud against his skin. In his arms, he held a soft stuffed star, squeezing it tight as he looked at the sky. The air smelled like cool rain and sweet jasmine flowers. Arav wondered if the night had a secret to tell him today. Arav looked up and saw a giant glowing crescent appearing behind a wispy cloud. It was the moon, and it had the kindest, most shimmering face Arav had ever seen. The moon looked down at the village with a gentle smile that made the shadows feel friendly and warm. It leaned in closer, its silver light spilling over the windowsill like silk. Then the moon took a deep breath and began to hum. It was the start of a special lorry, a song just for the night. Shh, the moon whispered to the waking stars. The light seemed to pulse with every beat of the moon's golden heart. The song began to move, floating away from the moon's silver lips. The moon sang its lullaby, and the sound drifted down toward the tall, leafy trees. The branches began to dance, swaying back and forth in a slow, rhythmic motion. Softly, so softly, the leaves rustled together, making a sound like 1,000 tiny fans. The music traveled through the garden, over the sleeping roses, and under the low bushes. It was a peaceful sound that made the world feel very small and very safe. Arav watched a single leaf flutter down, caught in a glowing moonbeam. The music moved through the air like a warm breeze. High above, the stars heard the moon's beautiful voice and decided they wanted to help. One by one, they began to blink and shimmer, keeping time with the melody. Twinkle, twinkle, the stars sang in their high, clear voices. They looked like tiny musical notes scattered across a giant velvet page. This was a celestial lullaby, a song that reached from the highest peak to the lowest valley. Every twinkle was a tiny spark of light that danced on Arav's window pane. He reached out a finger to touch the glass, feeling the cool surface while the stars performed their dance. As the music grew stronger, the village began to change. The busy sounds of the day disappeared, replaced by a heavy, cozy silence. Down in the garden, a fluffy cat curled into a tight ball on a porch chair. In a nearby tree, a wise owl closed one eye and then the other, sinking into its feathers. Even the far-off animals, like the sleepy koalas in their trees, felt the weight of the song. Everyone was getting ready for a deep, peaceful sleep. houses turned off their yellow lights, and the chimneys stopped puffing smoke. The world was holding its breath, listening to the silver song. Arav leaned his head against the cool glass of the window. The moon sang its lory directly into his room now, a melody that sounded like a soft hum. It was a peaceful tune that made his shoulders relax and his feet feel heavy. He listened to the way the notes rose and fell, like the waves of a gentle ocean. This lullaby was a promise that the night was a place of rest and happy dreams. Arav felt a tiny yawn stretching deep inside his chest. Arav pulled back the covers of his bed, which felt as soft as a giant marshmallow. He climbed in and snuggled deep into the layers of his warm blanket. Softly, so softly, he adjusted his pillow until it was just right under his head. He pulled his stuffed star close to his chin, feeling the plush fur against his cheek. This was his favorite part of the night, where the world felt small and perfectly safe. The music of the moon was still there, humming in the background like a soft engine. It was a beautiful lullaby that made his eyes feel very, very heavy. Suddenly, a long, thin beam of moonlight stretched across the floor and climbed onto Arav's bed. It didn't feel gold. It felt like a warm, glowing ribbon. The moon sang its lory as the light wrapped around Arav's shoulders, just like a hug from the sky. He felt the silver glow touching his hair and his nose, making him feel loved and protected. Every twinkle from the stars outside sent a tiny pulse of warmth through the room. Arav was snuggled so tightly that he felt like a little bug in a rug. Arav's eyes were almost closed now, showing only a tiny sliver of the room. The moon's face was still visible through the window, watching over him with a kind expression. The song was getting slower and quieter, turning into a whisper. Shh, shh, the lory seemed to say as it drifted through the air. Arav's breathing became slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the moon's gentle pulse. He was ready for a deep, peaceful sleep where he could fly among the stars and play on the silver clouds. He felt his body becoming light, as if he were floating on a cloud. The village was now completely still under the watchful eye of the moon. Every child was tucked away, listening to the final, softest notes of the night. Arav's hand loosened its grip on the stuffed star as his fingers relaxed. His eyes closed fully, and a small, happy smile stayed on his face. The silver light dimmed just a little, turning into a soft glow that filled the room with peace. Outside, the trees stopped swaying, and the stars slowed their blinking. The song had done its work, bringing a deep, peaceful sleep to everyone. Arav breathed in and out, dreaming of the moon.